All right, g'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, so I have a video for you today that I think is going to be kind of an interesting one because I have two really incredible guitars right here. The SG61 reissue, an actual reissue. It's not the same as the SG61 standards that you see now. And then, of course, the 2006 SG3, a bit of a rarity, but I got that one too. And if you want to see like tabletops of these videos, they're on my channel. Just, punch in SG61 reissue. You'll see a whole bunch of videos for this one come up. This one's a 2007 model. I bought in 2009, and this one I bought new in 2006. Oh, sorry, 2000, 2005? Or was it 2000? No, 2006. Yeah, sorry about that. Had to think about it there. Okay, so I've been an SG Les Paul guy for my entire life, pretty much. But I also love whiz bang guitars like Ibanez's and Jacksons, and if you've seen my guitar collection, you see I like a lot of I got PRSs in here, I got LTDs in here, Jacksons, whatever. I've owned Ibanez, Hammer, however you want to say them. I've had quite a few really cool guitars over the Epiphones, everything. But my staple guitars are pretty much SGs. There's things that a lot of guys like about the Les Pauls more than the SGs, but I think the SGs kind of offer you a little bit more, especially bang for the buck, because they're typically cheaper. And well, I know I'm about to make a bold statement, but I can kind of qualify it. And there's a lot of guys that don't play SGs, you know, like don't knock it till you try it because, but I'll just tell you this: don't pick up an SG unless you have the money to buy one, because yes, they're a little bit oddball when you first pick them up, but live with one for a month, you'll probably sell all your other guitars because they're typically one of the best playing guitars, electric guitars you could possibly get. My 61 reissue, yeah, it's got the neck is got bows in it. That's one of the reasons why they stopped the reissues, which is actually thinner than the actual standard. Like that's basically an SG standard chassis, which is top notch reliable. Where these they tend to have it more closer to the original, which was not quite strong enough on the neck joint, so you get a bit of a bow. Still a playable guitar, still excellent guitar, has a slim taper neck and all that stuff. But I saw a video last night, which will bring me to the topic of this video. Of this guy pretty much made the point of how SGs are kind of misunderstood of what they are. He sees two types of videos: guys cranking out AC/DC riffs, which is great and fine and all, but that's all they can do with it, right? And then other guys that they're trying to do shred metal, but they're not. They don't have the guitar set up right, and they don't like it. Oh, it's not really a great guitar for that. Well, there's two problems. Uh, and then, of course, what he was getting at was how versatile the guitar actually is. I've always said if a Les Paul and a Telecaster had a child, it would be the SG. So the SG way more of a powerhouse than just about any Telecaster you'll ever try, but nowhere near as melodic. The SG is a lot more melodic than the Les Paul, but not as heavy, right? So that's the best way I could describe it. So to split the best of the both worlds, if you can't decide between a Telecaster and a Les Paul, buy an SG. You know what I mean? It kind of does everything. But he went to say that no, these are not metal guitars, and I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. He says they're not really meant for shredders, and I'm like, whoa, this is the prototype. Uh, this is the beginning of the metal guitars. This is the first true shredder guitar. And if you can't shred on an SG, you can't shred. Period. It's like, oh, but it doesn't have an Ibanez wizard neck or a Jackson slim taper neck. No, it doesn't work like that. These necks, yes, they're a little bit thicker than those necks mentioned, right? But with the short scale, Gibson, when the 61 reissue came out, Gibson had a slogan saying, if this can't get it out of you, you don't have it in you. And that is true. Like these guitars, if you can't play them well, it's not the guitars. The best guitar I've ever played in my life to date is this one. The only reason why it's not this one is because this one has a little bit of a warp in the neck. Again, just, wear and tear or whatever. But the point I'm making is SGs with their shorter scales. If you like sweep picking, you're going to love an SG. Yeah, you got to get used to the comfort because it's not a Strat body shape or a super Strat. And like here, this, like on a Les Paul, it's a little more forward around here, right? So this makes the guitar feel like it's sitting back a bit more. That kind of makes it strange for some people. But, like anything, get used to it for, get used to it for like play it for like a month. Like I say, you'll fall in love with them. They're great. And yes, you can drop tune these things. The lowest I've went so far is a double drop A on the 61 just to try it. No, it won't really do it. But it was an interesting experiment. But you can go down to drop B with the right set of strings on there and still maintain the outrageous playability for guitar solos. So if you're a shredder, yeah, this is a guitar. You know what I mean? Like if you hand this to Steve Vai, he can make it sound pretty good. You know what I mean? If you hand this to Yngwie, he'll make it sound really, really good. So it's just, like the playability is not in question with this guitar. The main question for the metal guys, the main answer is the pickups are 1960s style pickups. The classic 57s, which is in both of these guitars, except for this guitar has a classic 57 plus. The main thing with those is they're a little bit hotter and a little bit more fuller sounding than the Burstbuckers. I've always loved the classic 57. It's my favorite Gibson pickup, my second favorite for rock, metal, whatever. But it's not really a metal pickup. It's more of like a rock, hard rock. If you want Black Sabbath, you got Black Sabbath. I'll tell you that right now. Some of the downsides to the Spotlight style pickups is that they tend to feed back a lot because of all the metal on them. But you can also get these pickups with, like with more conventional as well. They don't look as good in some ways, but the main issue is the pickups for the metal guys, for the high gain stuff. So Gibson, for some reason, really caters to the blues guy, the classic rock guy, probably the most 1960s rocker. They're still stuck in the 1960s rocker thing, right? So although Gibson makes a really phenomenal modern sounding pickup called the 500T, and if you've ever tried one of those in the Cora Flying V, you'll see what I mean. It's like the hottest pickup ever. It's as hot as a Duncan Distortion, maybe even hotter than that. It's a dark pickup. It's perfect for metal. But they don't put it in a lot of guitars. I would love to hear a Duncan, a 500T in the 498 in a 61 reissue. It would rip your head off. It would be absolutely, and it would sound very, very modern. But the Gibson seems to be more obsessed with the more clean-oriented sounding pickups like the Burstbucker Pros, Burstbucker 1, 2, and 3. The closest to a modern sounding pickup Gibson has is like the 490, 491, 492, those kind of pickups, which are, four-wired pickups rather than single pole. So they don't have as much dynamics, but more clarity. Where like classic 57s are very dynamic sounding pickup because they're single poled. Burstbuckers are single poled. If you don't know four wire versus single pole, it's just think of all the wires just put together and then grounded versus 2 and 2 when they hook them up. So that's the main issue there. So that's a very solvable issue. The playability is, like a lot of guys get really hung up on flat wide necks. Now I've got big monkey hands, right? And if you want to do outrageous stretches and chords, 24 3/4 scale is the easiest guitar you'll ever play. If you want to do really fast, lightning fast finger tapping and arpeggios, 24 and 3/4, yes, it's a little more crammed in some ways, but you're really not talking about that much of a difference between the fret spacing up once you get past the 15th fret on a, there's like maybe a 16th of a difference between each fret between the 25 and a half scale and the 24 and 3/4. So if you want to do a sweeping arpeggio, this is the guitar. This is the guitar for that. I mean, I'm still working on the arpeggios, but I can almost nail it every time on these guitars. So fret accessibility. I mean, your playability on these guitars are great up to the first pickup. You can literally play notes here. That's how good the fret access is. Whether it's a standard model or this. So I would disagree with the guy that it's not meant for metal. It's not set up for metal, but yes, you could metal on these things big time. As far as the guys that like the low end of the Les Pauls a bit more, one of the big critiques you hear about SGs, and it's either you love it or you hate it, is that the SG, no matter where you put it in the mix, it's always out front. So they make great lead guitars and great riffing guitars, but they tend to stay out front. So if you really want like a heavy, let's say, think like symphonic metal, and you want a really heavy sound, but kind of sitting in the background, the SG's way too rude to do that. It's a very intrusive guitar. It just cuts through. It's just the way they are. I don't know why they cut through more than a Les Paul. I think it has something to do with the fact that you got a mahogany top typically rather than well, it has a lot to do with the rosewood fingerboard. I know some people, oh, tone woods are not a thing, blah, blah, blah. They are a thing. Trust me, I mixed this with my 7-string the other day, and I can guarantee you, even in the mix, if I didn't tell you what guitar